Hello everybody, welcome to Craft and Treat With Me. This is our Treat With Me part. Today we are going to be making caramel candy apples using Valentine themed candies. As you can see, these are our ingredients. We have some apples, we have our sticks for the apples, we have some cinnamon hearts, Oreos, marshmallows, some sprinkles, M&Ms. These are our M&Ms right here, some butter, caramels, and some marshmallows. So one of the first things we need to do is to wash off the wax on our apples. So we're gonna take a pot and we're gonna put some water in our pot. Go ahead, you can put some water in the pot. And we're gonna use this so we can bring it to a boil. And I'll explain more in the next screen. Okay everyone, so we have got our pot of water, just water, and on our little hot plate, and we're going to bring this to a boil. And I have my apples right here. And then we have our spoon. So we got a spoon that has some holes in it. And that's so that when the apples are done, we're only gonna boil the apples. Once the water's come to a boil, we're gonna boil the apples for about 6 seconds actually, not 6 minutes. Please do not 6 minutes, then we'll have to make this apple pie, never mind. Candy apples. We don't want them to get too soft. So we just wanna, once the water is boiling, we wanna put the apples in there for 6 seconds. Once we've boiled it for 6 seconds, we wanna take the apple out. And I will continue to show you as we get to that point. Okay, so our water has come to a boil, as you can see. So now you're gonna use 5 apples, okay? That's what this recipe calls for, is 5 apples. So you might have more than 5 apples in your bag. Just pull 5 out, and the extra apples you can keep and eat them later. And so what you wanna do now is put your apples in the water. Before you put them in though, take your long spoon and you can put them in one at a time because you don't want them splashing around. If you have a spoon, you can use it, put it into the water. Go ahead, put them in one at a time. You want to let them soak in there. So now we're going to time it, and we want to make sure all sides get boiled so we can take the wax off the apples before we dip them in the melted caramel.
15 seconds?
10 seconds.
Okay, we're good to pull it now.
Okay, so she's just taking her apples one by one. Okay, okay, so we're taking the apples out one by one. There we have all 5 apples. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a towel or a paper towel, whatever you have, and you're going to wipe the apples and wipe the wax right off. You want to wipe them really good so you can get the wax right off. So the boiled water actually heats up the wax, so it's easier to take the wax off. Okay, so you can actually make sure that you pull your stems off the apples after you've wiped them down, because that is where we're going to be poking our sticks in. All right, so now that we've washed our apples and we've dried them, you want to make sure that you dry them really well, because if there's any water left on them, the caramel won't stick to them. So make sure they're completely dry. And then you want to take your sticks. We have 5 sticks that you're going to use, and you're going to put it in your apples. So we're going to watch our volunteer stick the stick in the apple. Just give it a good, you want to use the pointed end. Maybe you can show us the pointed end. So there's the pointed end, and let's see the other side. And the other side has a little bit of a thicker end to it. So you want to take the pointed side and stick it right into the apple. Give it a good push in there. And you want to do that for all 5 apples. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna move to start prepping our toppings that we're going to use on our candy apples. The first thing we're gonna look at is our Oreo cookies. Each of you would have received a package of Oreos. So you can open your Oreos. You can use as many as you would like. I'm thinking, I don't know, if you, depending on how much of the Oreos you want to use is how much you want to put in the bag. So you've got a large Ziploc bag as well. So I guess if you put like a row and a half, maybe we'll see how that, we might add more. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to just, now we've got finished putting all the cookies in the bag, so you can Ziploc it up. Make sure you press the top part and lock it up. Make sure you can press it to get the air out and Ziploc it at the top so it's completely shut. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your rolling pin or whatever you have. Even if you don't have a rolling pin, you can just grab a cup and use it as well. You want to find something that you can just break the Oreo cookies. So she's just giving them a good crush and crushing them up. We're continuing to crush our Oreo cookies. It's a bit sticky because of the filling in there. Okay, so we're going to continue to shake it up and make sure we just break them down really well. So just so you know that we kept the filling in the cookies and crushed up our cookies. So you can do it that way. Another thing that you can do is take a cookie and you can, if you don't want the filling in there and just have crumbs, you want to open your cookie. Good. And then take a butter knife and scrape the middle part out, the icing part off. And then you would take your cookies and stick them in the Ziploc bag and crush them. And then the extra filling, you can just eat that later for yourself. Okay, so now that we are done crushing our Oreos, we're going to scoop the Oreos out and put them on one of the plates that we gave you. And then once you're done putting your Oreos on your plate, you can just put that plate aside and we'll move on to our next candy. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to our next candy. So you're gonna grab your package of M&Ms and you're gonna go ahead, open them up and throw them on the plate. We're not gonna crush these ones up. They're pretty tiny and will be perfect just to put on the apples just like that. Perfect. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is you're gonna grab your cinnamon hearts. You should have a bag of cinnamon hearts. If you don't have a bag that looks like that, you'll have a Ziploc bag that looks like that with cinnamon hearts in it. And so you have two options here. You can leave the cinnamon hearts just the way they are and put them in the plate. Or what we're going to do is we're gonna take half of our cinnamon hearts, put them in another Ziploc bag, and we're gonna crush half of them. We're gonna leave half of them just as whole, and half of them we're gonna crush them just like we did our Oreos. Perfect. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our cinnamon hearts right now. So you either have a bag that looks like this, or you have a Ziploc bag that looks like that with cinnamon hearts in it. So then you're gonna take your Ziploc bag, open it up, and stick it in your plate. Okay, so now we're on to our next candy, and it's the marshmallows. So you're not gonna have a whole bag like that. We're actually gonna divide these bags in half. So you'll have a Ziploc bag of the miniature marshmallows. But you're gonna take your bag, open it up, and you're gonna put them on your empty plate. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our sprinkles, and for this one, you can put them in the plate if you'd like, or you can just keep them in the container and we'll sprinkle them just from the container directly onto the apples. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're gonna grab this package that we have in front of us. This is your parchment paper. You're gonna take one of your papers and you're going to put it on top of a tray, or if you don't have a tray, which most people wouldn't, because I don't even have one in my house, but you can use a plate, but you want to use something that you can put it on top of, because this is where we're essentially going to be putting our apples. Would you be able to lift the parchment paper and just show me? So that's our tray, and then you just lay it on top of your tray or your plate, whichever you have. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our butter, and you're going to we have to grease our parchment paper really well with our butter. And it has to be really well, because when we stick our caramel apples on here after we've dipped them in the caramel, we don't want them sticking to the parchment paper. So the butter helps keep it so it doesn't stick to it. So you can go ahead, open your butter packages. You can keep half of it on so you can hold it. And then you're just gonna start smearing it, and you wanna do the entire thing and do it really well. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna have a Ziploc bag with some caramels in it, and you're also gonna have a package. Can you show me the package? A package that you're gonna open up full of caramels. So this part, what you wanna do is, this is the part where you have to unwrap each of the caramels. It's a little bit of takes time, so it's a little bit of a timely matter, but you take your caramel and you can just squish it if you'd like. They say that you can squish it so it opens up the end part, and then pull off the wrapper, and then throw your caramel into the pot. Okay, so once you're done unwrapping all of your caramels out of both packages, taking the wrappers off and throwing your wrappers in the garbage, now you put them all in your pot. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take a tablespoon. You're gonna take a tablespoon, and you're going to take 2 tablespoons of water. 1 and 2. Perfect. And you're gonna put it on low heat, not a high heat, just a low heat, so we don't burn the caramel, and we'll slowly get it melting. Okay, once you have your heat on low, you want to stir your caramels, because again, you just want to keep them moving, and let your pot get nice and warm, and eventually it will start to melt. You always want to keep stirring it though.
Smells fantastic.
Once again, we wish we had smell vision. You could smell it through the TV. One day that will become a thing, I'm sure of it. So we're gonna add just a little bit more water, just a little bit. We added another tablespoon, just because we're noticing that it's still quite thick. If you're finding it very thick, slowly add a little bit more water, just 1 tablespoon at a time. So we just added 1 extra tablespoon. We're gonna kind of see how it goes. We might actually add a little bit more. That's another tablespoon, and this might be good now. We'll see how this goes. We don't want it too thin, but we want it thin enough that it will go onto the apples really well. All right, so now we're gonna take, now that our caramel's all melted, we're gonna take our apple and we're gonna dip it into our caramel. So she's just spinning it around. She's trying to shake off a little bit of the excess caramel. And she's just gonna wipe the bottom. And then she's going to stick it on her parchment paper, just like that. Perfect, so we're gonna do that for all 5 apples. Okay, so again, just a reminder that if the caramel is too thick, just keep adding just a little bit of water each time. And you're gonna actually happen to have just enough caramel, because as you can see, we used almost every single bit of the caramel. Okay, everybody, so now we're at the fun part. So this is the part where we're going to decorate our apples. So we have all 5 of our toppings right here, and so you can decorate them however you'd like. So we're gonna get started, and you can take your apple, and she's going for the cinnamon hearts, and she's just, look at how she's just dipping them around like that, and look at how they just stick so nicely to it. And then you stick it back onto your parchment paper. Okay?
Oh, that one might need to set a little bit more.
Okay. And again, you can do them like this, or you can use your hands and just stick them right on. However you prefer. This would seem like the easiest, not so messy kind of way to do it.
Like an alien. It looks like a
spaceship. So now we're putting cinnamon hearts. She's mixing them up a bit for this one. And you can decorate your apples however you'd like. And here she's going in for the cookie crumbs. Wow, that's awesome. Perfect, so next, she's going to take her apple and she's gonna go in for the cookie crumbs again. This time she's just doing the outside, all around. That looks delicious. And you can decorate them however you like. Oops, that's okay. We'll just clean that up after. And then she's gonna take her sprinkles. And she's gonna just start sprinkling. Would definitely be a fun activity for you to do with your children. And here's our last apple.
What haven't I done yet? I guess I did all.
So here she goes, and she's gonna try a different technique. She's gonna press the apples, or press the sprinkles right on the apples. Wow, that looks great. That's fantastic. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put these apples in the fridge, and we're going to let them refrigerate for 1 hour. Just take your plate and stick them right in the fridge, and after 1 hour they'll be ready to eat. Bon appetit.